Hello, it's a new month. It's a new month. And when you're watching this, I am getting ready to leave the country. So I'm a little bit like stressed right now. I think I figured out how I'm gonna do this. You probably won't get a second upload from me this week. I'm gonna try and still do my Tuesday one. I have a video pre-filmed, but I just don't have time to pre-film another one. But this is going to be a combination wrap up and TBR. If the beginning of the month comes really close to my normal Tuesday wrap up, I usually try to combine them. So we're going to combine the wrap up and the TBR, which is funny because I've actually read just two things off the TBR because I was in the middle of a book in the end of July, and so I rolled it over onto my TBR. So we'll talk about that one first. First, I wanted to finish The Name of All Things, which is the second book in the Course of Dragons series. It follows immediately after the events of The Ruin of Kings, kind of. The story's told in two timelines, and the more I listened to it, the more I think I really liked the first book a lot better than the second book. I'm going to continue with the series. It was still like a high three, low four, somewhere around there. I'm kind of getting, the more I do this, the more wishy-washy with like actual stars, because I feel like I just do them for Storygraph so I can sort through and be like, I liked this more than that, basically. Because it's really the only reason I still do it. Because I really think like spoken reviews are so much more useful for me than just stars, or written reviews just to see what you liked and what you didn't like. And so I kind of want to do it that way, I think, and see how that works for you. I'll try to still give a star if that's helpful. So I put this for Storygraph out of 4. I enjoyed this more than I disliked it. I think for me, I spent too long between the two books to really enjoy the second one as much as I probably could have had I like gone right into it. However, I really think Jen Lyons does a good job of continuing the story and refreshing you on the events that happened. So the way that this book works is we have a character from the first book that gets introduced to us, and our main character from the first book, Kieran, goes and finds her at the end of, like, he's trying to find her at the end of The Ruin of Kings. Hugin just dramatically flopped and I got distracted. He's found her at the beginning of The Name of All Things. So the interesting thing in these books is that the titles are actually based on the artifacts inside the books. So that's why they're titled the way they are, at least these first two. So in the beginning of The Ruin of All Kings, Kieran goes into this pub. He has found this woman. I don't really want to say her name because it's kind of a spoiler, but he's found this woman mentioned in the first book, and he is having a conversation with her about all of the events that led to her being there. So the whole book is an info dump up until like the last like 20%, 10% maybe. It's like this big long info dump essentially. And I was thinking about this while I was reading it because I was like, I don't mind an info dump, and I like the way this info dump is done because this info dump is done as like a let me tell you the story of what happened to me. So but we have like these breaks in the fourth wall where we get footnotes from another character who shows up in and out of the story, and she is for some reason leaving us footnotes in this same format as in the first book. The main thing for this is I like Jen Lyons' world building. It's complex and it's weird. I don't think it's like a good like beginner fantasy because you have to be sat and ready to like have a weird world built around you and just go along for the ride until you start to figure out the pieces. This is one where when I said I was listening to it on audio, one of my mutuals was like, are you sure? Because there's a lot of map, like there's a lot of discussion. You're gonna need like the back of the book information, and I probably think I will reread this physically after listening to it because I think there's so much more you can get out of it having done that. However, listening to it on audio is not unrealistic. There are multiple narrators, and I don't normally like multiple narrators, but I think in this scenario and in the first book it works, especially when you have the footnotes and you have an entirely different character breaking in to give you those footnotes. So this was my first book for Smaugust. I have picked a couple dragon books, so this is my Smaugust pick, and I did manage to finish it recently, so I just finished it late last night. So second book of the month finished, but the first one I'm going to talk about because it was a carryover. One of the days when I was reading this, I did pause, and I decided to, while I was working on my jacket, which I finished and brought upstairs so I can't show you, but I'll put a picture here. I'm very happy that I finished it. I needed it for this wedding that I'm going to, and I hope it's fine. Anyway, I've needed this jacket done. So I was like, I am not in a high fantasy like mindset. I'm trying to focus on these instructions. Let me grab something else that I have on audio. And I had an arc of Chuck Tingle's Lucky Day, which comes out later this month. I actually also have tickets to that event, and I'm so excited because I think it's like 2 days after I come back from my trip, I go to this event. So I'm kind of excited about that. So Lucky Day was a horror kind of science fiction by Chuck Tingle. So all 3 of the books I read from him have been very different, but they have all like had Easter eggs for each of the different books that they all happen in the same world. So that's kind of cool. Lucky Day follows, I won't be able to remember her name for some reason, follows our main character who, she's a mathematician, and on her like day that her book is supposed to be published, this low probability event happens, and the weirdest things you could possibly imagine, things that have no probable chance of happening, happen. And like fish start falling from the sky, there's like a chimp with a typewriter attacking people, there's like zoo animals loose, all of these things happen on the same day, and nobody knows why it happened, and our main character ends up with some trauma from the event, some survivor's guilt. Pretty brutal stuff, right? So that all happens in the first like 3 or 4 chapters, like right away. I was like an hour into this book and I was like, oh my God, so much stuff has happened in the first like hour of this book. And because the speed I'm listening to, it's even faster, right? So I was like, oh my God, everything is just like happening. So our main character then gets, she spirals into depression and isolation, and she contemplates whether or not she wants to stay in this world. So there is a content warning for suicidal ideation for this book. But I think the way it's handled is very good. I like the way that it's discussed and the way that it's handled, and the way that our character processes her PTSD. She ends up basically getting roped into this federal agency that is studying the low probability event. And because she's a mathematician and she was researching this specific organization that the low probability event agency is now interested in, she gets invited into it. So that kind of like forces her to have something to focus on, and we just kind of follow as the story unfolds. It's cosmic horror. It is weird stuff happening. It is a commentary on capitalism and being queer in our current society, and I think Chuck Tingle does those 2 things very, very good. It's part of what I really, really liked about Bury Your Gaze, and if you liked that, I think you'll like this one as well. I liked Bury Your Gaze and Camp Damascus better. This was still a like 4-star solid book that I really enjoyed for me. So those are the 2 things that I read. Let's talk about what I want to read. So I started today Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher. I have an arc for this. And then as I started it, I was like, oh my God, is this gonna be like my new favorite T. Kingfisher book? It is so good. So good. Our main character, Anya, I think, she is a kind of like a healer, but she focuses specifically in antidotes for poisons. And she has a very academic kind of background, while not being an academic, but she is like that very studious kind of character who's just like obsessed with knowing the answer for things. And I was like, yes, I need this. There keeps being a noise at my front door. Hold on. Okay, I think it's just really windy outside. Anyway, she's a very studious character, and she has basically been approached by the king, who thinks his daughter is being poisoned, and he has recruited her because she's the only person he knows of who specializes in these things, but also is not known by the court. So he's recruiting her. She doesn't want to go. Reluctance. It's your classic, it must be really windy out because my door keeps like clicking. It's your classic T. Kingfisher character with your like larger woman who is not so much interested in relationships, more interested in her special interest. She's kind of witty and charming in like a bumbling way. It reminds me a lot of Grace or Mara from Nettle and Bone. So if you like those characters, this has kind of those vibes, but I think the character meshes the things that I really liked with the character from A House of Good Bones into some of the qualities I really liked of those characters. So she's not the same character, but she has some of those traits. So I'm looking forward to this one. This is a twist on Snow White. The next book that I want to read is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. I think I said Your Bones last time, but it's Our Bones. I completely forgot that I had this book until today. I was like driving home and I was listening to Hemlock and Silver, and I was like, wasn't there something else I was supposed to be listening to? Yeah, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil is due back to my library in like 12 days. So I will be switching gears to listen to that one in the next few days so I can get that one done before it goes back to the library. That's the new V.E. Schwab. It is pitched as toxic sapphic vampires. I am very interested in it. That's pretty much all I know about it, and that there's like 3 timelines. That's most of what I know about it. I do also know that a lot of people said that it reminds them a lot of Addie LaRue, and there are like Easter eggs that it may be set in the same world, and Addie LaRue is not really my favorite. but I liked Darker Shade of Magic. So we'll see how I feel about this. We'll see how I feel about it, but I am not really high hopes, but not low expectations. I'm just kind of like feeling neutral about it. Other things that I want to read. This is where we get ambitious. Golden Fool is book 2 of the Tawny Man series in the Realm of the Elderlings. The only reason I have not started this right now is because I have been so freaking busy. So busy. So I'm bringing this tomorrow for my plane book. If I get packed tonight and get everything done, I may read this before I go to bed, but I do have to work tomorrow before I leave. So, this is priority. This is high priority. If I get Golden Fool done, which picks up right after the end, I believe, of Fool's Errand, which I finished and did a whole spoiler video on. Oh, this originally sold for $3.99. I bought it used for $4 from a different store. So, okay, so it's supposed to pick up pretty soon after the events of the first book, which have to do with Prince Dutiful and Fitz and the Fool and them going on a quest together. And now we are back here again with Fitz, who has had his life once again turned upside down. Yes, life once again turned upside down. I am low-key obsessed with this story. I'm feeling a little anxious about going into it, and also like very like, not like negative anxious, but like positive anxious, and also a little like, what is she gonna do this time to break my heart? Who are we going to kill? Because Robin Hobb likes to take things away from me, and that's what she does, and it's fine. She can take away anything she wants from me. So if I finish that, this one's way chunkier. We will jump into Fool's Fate. I don't think this is going to happen until near the end of the month, but it is a stretch goal for me, basically, is to finish this. So this Golden Fool, oh, there's pages at the end that don't have numbers. That means they are a preview of Fool's Fate. About the author. This is 709 pages. I have a 9-hour flight from Seattle to Dublin. And then a 3-hour layover, and then a 2-hour flight. So I have time, because I don't sleep on airplanes. And then I have that same flight back in reverse. So we have some opportunity to get some books finished. I don't know what is even supposed to happen in this, but here's Smogus number 2. We have a dragon. Are you gonna focus? There we go. Smogus number 2, we have a dragon. Smogust is Smog and August. It's Dragon Month. I picked it up when I used to be on art Instagram. Every day people would draw a dragon drawing and post it. Hashtags on Instagram currently suck, but if you can find any, Smogust was a fantastic tag. It was one of my favorite themed months when I was on art Instagram. I love Smogust so much. So I'm carrying it over into Bookstagram. So this is my second dragon book for the month. Assuming dragons will at least be mentioned, but I don't know. Because after this, we go into the Rainwild Chronicles, and we start with Dragon Keeper. So I'm assuming some dragons will be at least introduced. One more thing I'm planning on reading. I just picked 6 books because I'm going to be traveling for 12 days. So I don't know how much I'm going to be reading. So I picked one more thing, which is on my shelf. Let me grab it for you. This will be easy to read. I'm going to bring this with me too, and probably read a little bit at a time. Full Metal Alchemist, the first 3 books in the series. I watched this one, so I have some memory of what happens, so I think this will be kind of quick, and I'm really enjoying manga lately, so I thought, why not get into ones that I was familiar with. So those are my 3 things. I did have a couple other things that I might try and do. I did join the nonfiction science book club, and this month they're reading Cosmos, and I have been wanting to read that for a while, so I might grab the audio of that and listen to it a little bit here and there, just so that I can maybe participate at the end of the month. And yeah, that is where I'm at for my TBR and my reading wrap up for last week. Yeah, the first couple days of the month have been pretty good. Knocked out 2 priority books. Pretty happy about it. I am going to go start getting some stuff ready to go run some errands before I have to leave to take my dog to my parents' house. So I will see you soon with something else.